Oh, that was good enough. Thank you. Right on. Okay, thank you, everybody. Well, greetings. Welcome to the Chelsea Land Use Committee meeting for the month of June. Okay, make sure, sorry. MCB4 has a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability and or an extraordinary circumstance. Excuse members. Members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. Members who are joining via Zoom must leave their cameras on. This meeting is being streamed live on the YouTube channel, and a transcript is being recorded. That is your official preamble for 2026. There you go, although it says 2025 right there. Co-chair, how are you?
Very good. How are you, sir?
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's great to have you. I'm glad everybody's here. Thank you so much for making this time. Much appreciated, Viren. I see you online. Mike, I see you online as well. Thank you both. We have one item of business today. I hope you're all ready for it. Unless there's old or new business to cover. This is the committee discussion. We've labeled this agenda item further committee discussion, 511 West 25th Street, Board of Standards and Appeals application to prevent residential development. If you recall at the board meeting, we asked that this letter be sent back to committee. The reason for that was because the date of the Board of Standards and Appeals hearing got pushed. And it was also true, based on the communication we put together in our email, that we thought, and I think we shared this, we thought that there was some new information perhaps we had not been made available to us previously.
Yep.
Some information perhaps that wasn't as clear as we needed it to be as well.
Yep.
And we thought instead of having the applicant back at this time, that it made more sense for us to get clear as to what our expectation, how we feel about this particular new information that we have heard. So that we have a detailed conversation, because the other reminder here is that the last time we convened, we did sort of a straw poll to see whether or not it was something we thought we could approve or not. We did not choose at that time to go sort of line by line in relation to what the Board of Standards and Appeals application requires. Those 5 key points, we didn't do that. Instead, we pivoted to just saying, do we think in general we support this? But again, given the information that has come to light since, we thought it would be worthwhile to just convene us to discuss what the expectations are in response to the letter. Co-chair, is that fair?
Totally fair.
What am I missing? Anything?
No, and I don't know if any of you have as bad a memory as I do, but just in case any of you don't exactly remember the last 2 months with this applicant, we can probably do a quick overview. So they came, they presented, there were some questions about how many apartments they wanted. We said that we wanted more smaller ones, not as many of the big ones. They said, oh yeah, we're working on it, we'll come back. So they presented first at the May meeting, then they came back, April, then they came back to the May meeting. And they had the architect here, they answered a bunch of questions, we raised some more issues, and they said, yeah, we're still working on it. We're gonna put all of this with much more clarity into our commitment letter, which they then sent us. So, but even at last month's meeting, they still hadn't finalized exactly how many apartments there were gonna be, how many they wanted, and what the sizes were. But they said that would all be set forth in the commitments. So they sent us a commitment letter. We actually got 2 pieces of information after our last meeting. We got their commitment letter, which I think you put in the Dropbox, right? Yep. And we also received a letter from Avenue School. And we had asked at the previous meeting, we were asking them about outreach, and about how many other potential lessors they've reached out to. We asked specifically if they reached out to Avenues, and they're like, absolutely, we've been reaching out to everybody. And then we actually heard from Avenues that they had not heard from the applicant. Which we thought was an important piece of information for us to know. So anyway, they let us know that they've not, and in fact, not only did they say, I don't know if they had watched the last month's meeting or what, but they said, we just wanted to let you know that we haven't heard from them. And in fact, we would be very interested in leasing the space. So. That's sort of where we're at right now, right? And we thought it might be helpful, and also just as a quick reminder, also what happened last meeting. As Greg said, we sort of said, all right, generally speaking, we think they've probably, though there's still some details missing, that they've probably satisfied these five criteria. Let's think about, you know, what conditions we might want them to commit to. And we came up with a list of conditions, including something, Brian, that you'd suggested. You said, all right, well, if you're not willing to commit to affordable housing with one or more of those apartments, how about you consider a donation to the Chelsea, I forget the name of it, anyways, the Affordable Housing Fund, right? That's specific to that area where they are now asking to have residential housing. And they said, yeah, we'll definitely think about that too. We'll include that in the commitment letter. So that's where we're at. So we thought it would be useful to have a discussion about everything we've heard from them, and frankly, probably go through those criteria, right? And then let's make sure that we're all comfortable with how we want to move forward. Sounds like though there were already some questions and hands up, so Paul and Elizabeth.
Has anybody been in touch with the applicant subsequent to Avenue School disclosing of the dealership? Do we know if they have connected? Or do we have that information and now we're not?
Don't know whether or not they've connected.
I mean, I think that's an important.
Good question.
Right, but did we make that connection? Did we say to the applicant, we talked to Avenues and they are interested, you should call them?
My understanding is that, I believe that Jesse did, but we'll double
Yeah,
check that.
little disadvantage here because Jesse's not here.
Yeah, right.
But yes, understood.
We need to know that.
Absolutely.
Because I could put this whole thing to bed.
And that was gonna be my exact question. I feel like there are two pieces that their response, reaching out to them tells us. One is it could just create the resolution we are seeking. Two, like, I think there's a question about whether or not they've been forthright. And so I think it's important to understand what their reaction to that information would be. And it's possible they reached out to, yeah, I don't know, like somebody who isn't the person who reached out to us, or the people who Avenues rents from, if they don't own, I don't actually know if they own. So I would wanna like leave some room for that, but I do think there's a question of how forthcoming they've been and.
So based on the landlord of Avenues, rather than Avenues directly,
Exactly.
now Avenues directly.
So like,
The
there's some
landlord.
room there, but we need to understand.
Just to let you know what, our understanding is that it was the letter we received was from the landlord of Avenues saying there had been no communication. And then Jesse did spoke with somebody at Avenues who also said that they had not heard anything. So we.
I think we need to hear from this applicant, how they explain that.
This is a letter of commitment, this just one thing, this short thing.
That's, I believe that is the letter, and I circulated the letter, the.
Put it on the, I
Yeah,
got this from a Dropbox.
That's right, that's right.
It's short.
Sometimes you can say a lot with very little, that is the case.
It's not positive what they're saying, it's all very little.
So as of this afternoon, I can assure you that the owner of the property at Avenues, the landlord of the building and the landlord of the school has not heard from the applicant. I can't speak for Avenues, but someone else. And he has expressed to me that he is definitely interested in the building, either to rent it and then rent it to Avenues or to purchase it. He has a real interest and he has the pockets for it. He says that he will speak informally for Avenues, that they are indeed very interested in expanding their campus and that this looked like a really good thing, and that they certainly hope that they heard from this, that they would hear from this applicant. That has apparently not happened. Yeah.
Okay, so we can happily be a connector on this and again, some of this is with Jesse exiting. Normally, we would have the ability in this point to turn to someone who would say, yes, I followed up, or I didn't follow up, how that worked, and I'm referencing Jesse. And Nellie, if you have anything to add to this, feel free. I just know that Jesse was active in this conversation the last time we were together. And I think the takeaway here is, well, we can make the connection. and ensure that the community board has made the connection, I should say, to the.
The obvious point to be made is that there is these two possibilities that this building could remain a commercial site, and that the zoning change could be moot, that it's just not necessary for these people.
Right.
They protested that they had explored every possibility, I don't wanna say avenue, because that's a pun, but that. And they clearly have not explored the avenues available to them. They were a trifle, shall I say, ingenuous in the last meeting. Also those 5 points that are.
That we're gonna discuss, yep.
I think in the text, it seems to me to say that all 5 of them must be met.
Correct.
That is
They
correct.
must, yeah.
And that's where
But
we.
they are not.
That's kind of the next step in this
They
conversation.
are not.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we're gonna go through each of them and then we're gonna make, yeah, sure that we have a discussion.
I think that your hand was up, was that where you?
So,
was that-
and my last
Oh, wait.
point before
sorry,
Ingrid jumps
sorry.
in. Is that if we really agree to do, or approve a zoning change possibility. It sets a precedent, it establishes a precedent that doesn't exist west of the High Line anywhere else officially that I'm aware of, and you know, that's kind of breaking the dam. And I think it's a very bad idea.
What do you mean by breaking the precedent?
For residential western.
Or converting any, that in its location west of the
Okay,
High Line into residential.
Okay.
thank you for communicating.
So a variance like this is something the city takes very seriously. And granted under 5 conditions,
Five
they need
conditions.
to meet all of them.
Mhm.
And there's a reason for that, because they don't want everyone to do that.
Mhm.
I do not believe that they meet all 5 conditions. The question for us is if they can have a return on their property. The fact that Avenues is interested means that they could make a return on their property, so right there is one condition they are not meeting. Once they receive their variance, if it were granted. They will not be required to seek any further permits, they can build whatever they want residential. Any kind of building, so
I'm sorry, what?
if they receive their variance from the city. They can build any kind of residential building they want there. They don't necessarily have to agree with what we want them to do.
Oh, in
Which
terms
is
of
what
the
we-
interior space, the number of units that come.
Correct.
Combination.
If
Okay,
they're
but
granted.
They can't
the
change the
variance.
building.
Right,
Right,
if they're granted the variance,
right.
what we say or what we suggest is really moot. If they get the variance, they can build whatever they want in there.
Just so
We
we're
have-
clear that, yeah, we're talking about the interior, they're not
Correct.
asking for. any-
Correct. So they could make it into one pet, they could do whatever they want inside. If the city grants them a variance and. They can build any unit sizes they want, we can say whatever we want, but if they're granted the variance, we should know. They can do whatever they want, they don't have to take our suggestions and they likely won't, which is why they're punting. And they've only had the building for a year, so all avenues have not been explored. They knew what they were buying, they're not. It's not me buying that building, those are sophisticated investors, they knew what they were buying.
They got it in a discount, it's true.
And for that reason, and they're just, I've gone over it numerous times, and they're not meeting the 5 criteria.
In Europe.
Just real quickly,
Yeah, so we.
Yeah.
And again, the goal is to go through, we didn't last time choose to go. Point by point on criteria, and I think that's where this is headed at this point, because that's valuable. That does not preclude the earlier conversation, which is we can make the introduction to avenues. And we can do that, but I'm sorry, I just wanna make sure that we need to go through point by point, and I will be honest in that as chair, I have not had the process of going through the conditions point by point.
for
But I-
the say letter.
But I have certainly, and Paul, I'm looking over at you for a second, but I certainly have seen content written that I did do things point by point
Yeah.
before, so any support in that process is useful.
I was gonna say, in fact, one thing that our board has done before, and I believe, Paul, this came out of your committee, was that you said Our board has voted to say that not all five criteria have been met. And it detailed the 3 criteria they believed had not been met, which is an approach I think that we would take, right? We would say which criteria hadn't been met if that's what we choose to do. But then it said, but hey, BSA, if you choose anyway to approve this, even though we think that the criteria haven't been met, then we would ask that you impose the following conditions, right? So that's something else for us to discuss this evening. It's not only whether or not they have met the criteria, but also any conditions that we would want imposed if the BSA chooses to grant it.
I have a question about the financing. Am I being naive to think that this will give them more money than selling to Avenues? That transforming it to residential in a lucrative way that like these are huge apartments will give them more money, better return?
It would appear that way.
I mean, I don't know that, I'm asking you.
I mean, yeah, we don't know what the math would be of if they rented it to the school.
I would also offer, I don't think that's for us to weigh in on. It's interesting,
It's not our responsibility to
But
think
like,
about
the
that,
question is whether or not they've met the 5.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
And that's where I think.
but it gives us a sense of their motivation.
Well, they're developers.
They stated.
I mean, I think they probably have a mission statement on their website that says what their mission is, which is to develop properties and make money for their investors. I don't think we should be surprised by that.
But
In
the variance must be the minimum relief, not making money, so they have to, it's minimum relief.
I'm only saying
Not
about what their
making-
motivation.
Not maximizing.
Correct, it's the minimum relief. And that's not what they're looking for. That's
Okay.
one of the 5.
Okay, well, let's.
May I?
Hold on a second. Jessica, did you finish your point?
Yes, thank you.
Pam, go ahead.
In our last meeting in May, they sat here and stated that they were open to anything and everything. They would be thrilled to unload this building. They're not wedded to their luxury development plan. They're happy to consider anything coming down the road. Well, here's something coming down the road. They should consider it.
Okay. Well, and again, we will, as has been noted, we will make the connection in that regard.
I seem to think one of the points was that they'd exhausted all opportunities. If we're seeing that there's an opportunity, then, I just wanted to bring us back to the criteria. Sorry that
I'm with you all the way on that.
If that is a criteria, then we don't believe they've met it based on the information we have. Then that's the basic, like, I don't know that we can negate the fact, that fact, and so therefore they haven't met all 5 criteria.
Right.
And if we wanna pivot, so I guess I feel like, I don't know how much there is to debate.
Well, I think, I'm not suggesting,
Points, and they
Yeah.
haven't met those either.
oh,
So,
go ahead.
yes, I
Go
think
ahead.
before we conclude,
Why don't we go through?
We're gonna- exactly.
Because you keep saying they haven't met them,
exactly.
but I don't think everybody else in the room
Yeah,
understands.
and
what
we'll
those
Also,
five
as the
are.
person who needs to draft the letter saying why, if whether or not they've been met, I think we should have that discussion.
And this is also a circumstance where I think it's reasonable to say. Some of us in this room have had the experience of going through these conditions before. Some of us may not. So it's good for us as a practice, I think, to talk it through. And understand that there may be different points of view. The best thing about this is that I think there's sort of a universal understanding that something that was presented about all the avenues maybe has not been addressed in the way that we thought. I also, that said, when you listen back to the recording of the meetings, the commentary from the presenter about how it is or when it was that they talked about different options was not crystal clear. So again, there was, when you listen back, there's sort of like, we exhausted it, and then sometimes, well, maybe we didn't exhaust it, but we would happily talk to somebody. So I just wanna note, like, I don't wanna overstate or understate that there's some I don't wanna say miscommunication, but definitely we have, I think, a different interpretation of what we heard at this point. That said, I didn't want them to be in the room for us to go through point by point. Viren, your hands up, and then I think we go through conditions. Viren, go ahead, and then we'll do conditions.
Yeah, I'm not going to take too much of your time. I think one quick thing I'm going to say, I will probably share some sort of information with you all, particularly the co-chairs, about the 5 points that we've been speaking about. One of the things that I really want to bring up mainly is self-created hardship. I think the fundamental question that the sort of board should be asking is it has to clearly distinguish between hardship arising from the sort of inherent site conditions versus
Yep.
something that the developer desires. And I think that clarity is not sort of presented by the developer. And I think that's one part that sort of that should be sort of pointed out. I will give you more detailed sort of list by list kind of recap of all the 5 points. And one more point that I want to sort of bring up is what somebody just mentioned a couple of minutes ago about the financial. 1 second, I'm just gonna. I've written my notes. 1 second, hold on. Sorry, just 1 second, sir.
Back to it during the discussion. if you
I'll
want.
come back to you. I mean, I can't find my notes right now, but there's one quick note that I had about the financial feasibility portion of it. And I think they need to show that if they just stay as of rights and conform with the current zoning, what they would lose versus what they would gain. And if that's just sort of an invented sort of hardship, that's something that we need to be able to we need to be given an opportunity to assess that if that's exactly the case.
Yep. So let
Thank
me,
you.
Can I ask one thing before we?
Oh, go ahead.
Because the point by points, I mean, the biggest news to this room is that Avenues is interested, right? But we don't have that in writing. We don't
we do
have,
actually.
we do have that.
I'm sorry.
There's a letter
Yes, we
Yeah.
do.
There's a letter where
There's a letter from the
Avenue's
landlord
landlord.
that
to.
we received to us.
Can I just make?
Is it?
Is it, wait, Paul, finish your point and then go ahead.
I didn't see.
That's the one I don't think we circulated in the
No,
drop.
it's not in
It's
the
the
Dropbox.
clue co-chair.
You got it. You seen it again?
I've seen it.
I don't know who, not that.
Someone shared
I
it.
don't think we shared that one. Did we share that one?
I don't believe you did.
I don't think that one was, I don't
I
think
got
that
a
one,
copy
we
of
shared a set of documents.
Mhm.
That letter came in after the fact. And I think we were purposefully bringing it to the table here. And then saying whether or not we would read this. And I remember talking to Jesse about this, because it's addressed to the co-chairs. So we can read this through if that's useful, but I didn't want to share that until we discussed it here, right? Is that fair?
Well,
We talked to
I think
Jesse
that,
about.
I think that in terms of one of the criteria is financial hardship and ability to do other things. I don't want us to be in a, sorry for the expression, he said, she said situation.
I agree.
You know, a letter from somebody that this is the first time I'm seeing this, not a public document
I
yet.
will be perfectly happy to
So
read
this
the
came-
letter into the record
Yeah,
in
but
this meeting.
it shouldn't come from you.
No,
It should come from
you.
Doug Oliver.
Addressed to these guys, they
It's
should.
addressed to us,
Right.
and by virtue of this,
You know, this is kind of critical.
So give it to him and he can read it.
I have it here actually.
Hold on.
Oh,
I have it right here, actually.
So
And I'm sorry,
this is important. This is
It's easier to
information
read.
to answer.
I got it. Yes,
All right.
okay. And that's when we go condition by condition, we're gonna talk this through. But I just wanna be very clear about a couple things. First off, this letter was addressed to the co-chairs. It's from Douglas Oliver, who's identified as a general partner at 1026 Investors LP. I have been the owner of 259 10th Avenue since 1978, the building that houses Avenues, the World School. I'm also their landlord. Come to my attention, that's inaccurate information that's been presented to the community board. The next paragraph, I've reviewed the materials presented, and contrary to what is claimed, I want to state Avenues was and continues to be very interested in the space at 511 West 25th. That's the takeaway. The rest of this is about background on the building purchase and those types of things. I think the key point on all this is to say, this Douglas Oliver is indicating an interest. I don't know, we did not have this conversation. I believe this is where it gets tricky because Jesse's not here. Because Jesse did have, I believe, a conversation with this individual. And we purposefully didn't post it because it wasn't public, but during the session, wanted to be able to say, we got this notice. We did not have a conversation with this person, but this is the key point to be made within that structure.
And then Jesse did also reach out to somebody specific at Avenues to find out if maybe somebody at the school had been contacted and not the landlord. And the school represented that they had not been contacted either.
And that's where we are. And by the way, did not want to get to a back and forth with the developer on this.
Yeah.
just wanted to present what we had heard. And that's where we are.
And so, for those of you who don't know. what
Excuse me a sec. Can you read those words specifically from the letter, Gregory, please?
Let me see it at least, if you don't wanna.
Yeah, the part where they say that they'd be interested. What
I
is
have-
specific?
Again, this Douglas Oliver, general partner, 1026 Investors LP. I reviewed the material presented, and contrary to what is claimed, I want to state that Avenues was and continues to be very interested in the space at 511 West 25th. So this is someone who's identifying themselves as the owner of 259 10th Avenue,
Which is where Avenues.
which the building that houses Avenues the World School. And they're saying that contrary to what was claimed, they want to state that Avenues was and continues to be very interested. I can't verify any more than that, other than this is something that the co-chairs received. And part of the reason, and again, if a committee member is sharing information that they have, that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's fine, you can share that. But as co-chairs, I think we're highlighting the information we received. Is that fair?
It's not on the letterhead, it's just a piece of paper.
Exactly. I can't.
Not only
I
that,
got
Greg,
nothing more to say to that.
you know,
Brian, go ahead.
the landlord is speaking for Avenues.
Mike, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no,
Mike, go ahead. I'm sorry.
the landlord is speaking for Avenues. That's what the letter
That's-
says. Okay,
That's my interpretation, Mike.
yeah, so it's, it's hearsay, right?
He's speaking for himself as well.
Yes, he is.
Well,
And
yeah,
Mike,
speaking for himself, that's fine, that's great. That does not mean to say that he would put Avenues in there, it's he.
Right.
This-
And is
this
part of the
other-
reason why.
This other landowner would like that particular parcel for himself.
Mhm.
So, anyway,
but also,
Money on the line.
Hold on, Brian, and then Brian, go ahead. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that, just the fact that I think Jessica said it best, right? Like, there's a lot of information in the PowerPoint. I can read the titles, the slides, no reasonable return, all these terrible outcomes, and it turns out that they maybe just didn't even do the work. So, all that needs to happen is you need to basically say no on one of these.
Mhm.
And for me, just, I would say the no reasonable return piece, I think it's the second piece. It's unclear to me, so I would say that they didn't fulfill all five.
Ellen, you were speaking. Thank you,
Yeah.
Brian.
I think that's exactly right. I mean,
Okay.
I think we need to reach back out to them and say, is Avenues the elementary school you're referencing when in your original leasing efforts letter? If so, can you provide any documentation that you did your due diligence with them? Who were the engineers and architects you toured with? What stage did you get to in assessing their level of interest? Do you have any documentation that they officially declined?
Mhm.
Do we know for sure that nobody wants to lease this? And if not, get in touch with them. Maybe they want to lease it. But I think until we have that, right, they don't meet that criteria. As for the other four, I don't know. I don't think I agree with you that they don't meet the other four, at least not out of hand. And I don't know if we want to spend time going through the other four now. I don't think we can make
can
a sort of
briefly.
decision. Yeah, without that information.
I think it's worthwhile for this body, with some folks who have the experience and some who haven't, to just go through condition by condition as we sort of learn through this.
and
Okay?
before we
That's
go
right.
through each of them individually, why don't I just tell you what the five are, in case there are some of you who are not familiar with what they are. The five are, number one is uniqueness.
Is what unique?
Uniqueness, that the property, the argument is that somehow it's so unique that it can't be used for its normal purpose. Number two is financial hardship. Number three is neighborhood character and public welfare. Number four is that the hardship is not self-created. And number five is minimum variance necessary, that this is again, just the minimum variance. Those are the five. And again, I think it's important, as we think about how we want to respond overall, that we are going to want to identify, if we believe as a committee that not all of them are met, I think we should be very clear in our letter which ones we think, if, which one or ones we believe have not been met, okay? So are we all, so I'll go into a little more detail about each of them. So uniqueness requires that there be unique physical conditions that are peculiar and inherent in the zoning law, like irregularities, narrowness, or shallowness, that create practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship in complying with the zoning resolution, right? And remember, one of the things that they said was because of the fact that the elevators are all the way over at one end. Remember, they were saying that it makes it very hard to have it be a lot of, offices or studios or something, right? That, so they were saying that that was one of the issues with the lot. And then also lower down, there's very little sunlight also because it backs up against the highline. Now Nellie, actually, well, let's have this conversation, but Nellie, could you pull up their, slides? I forget what the thing is called. But it's where they put together their slides and they explained on each of these how they thought they satisfied it.
Okay,
It
give me
might be helpful.
1 second to pull it up.
While you do that, perfect, thank you, but we can also start this conversation. So uniqueness, does anybody think that they have not satisfied uniqueness?
I'll say a word or two about
Yeah.
why.
Well, it's not an unusual lot size. The building is a commercial building. There are other buildings in the neighborhood that are zoned the same way, and they are not having any difficulty with their buildings. There's nothing unique about this building. It's not particular and inherent in that particular zoning lot to what it's zoned for. There's nothing unique about it that's different. It's not that it doesn't have elevators, it has elevators. And that's what it's, for its zoning purpose, it has what it needs. It doesn't have anything, I mean, all of the criteria in here suggests that it is not unique to what it's zoned for.
Other thoughts about uniqueness? Go ahead,
So I just wanna say that like I just reread the deck and if you want to read it again, like it's just very unclear to me, like what we were just being fed in terms of like, just get this thing through the community board. I think I made a comment last meeting, this is like the bailout committee. We're not here to bail people out for bad investments. And so if you go through it, like, I don't know what's true or what's not anymore. Right? And like you read the slides, like, I have no idea if this building has unique physical condition.
No.
I don't know.
Its lot shape is normal,
Okay, so-
its ground is normal.
Inga expressed, we got you, Inga, Brian, also now it's ticking off other boxes there too, about questions, go ahead now.
So in part of my conversation, which I have had with the owner, he said that one of the reasons Avenues was particularly interested in the building, one of the reasons is because they found the floor plates very attractive, the way the floors are laid out and the columns, that suits their purposes very well for classroom settings. The other concept was that the whole idea that was being talked about, how to connect the two buildings, because the High Line's in the middle. And they were discussing the possibilities of going underground.
Right there, Nellie, that's great.
Going
Right there.
underground and connecting the two buildings below grade, which I find fascinating. But all of those things apparently were discussed in 2024.
Yeah, okay.
So any other thoughts about uniqueness, because there is the point that the presenter made about uniqueness is
But
identified.
that's not one of the uniqueness
I'm not,
pointed out in the 5 points. It's lot size, it's nothing that they're saying.
not disagreeing, I'm
That's not-
we're just
That
reflecting
their
on what they
number one
communicated.
doesn't
So your,
answer number one.
your second point is what they put forward in terms
Is
of
not
item one is
uniqueness.
not uniqueness.
Yeah.
Okay,
According to the 5 points.
So-
that's, again, we're just focused on uniqueness for a second.
I'm wondering, before if there's someone else who wants to say anything about uniqueness, before we move on to the second one, should we take a poll?
Nope,
Okay.
I don't think
All right.
it's necessary.
I'm sorry, how is
Doesn't seem to be necessary at this point.
uniqueness determined? It's lot size.
Hold on, it is, it's asking, is there like some sort of irregularity, narrowness or shallowness in size, shape, exceptional topographical or other physical conditions that create practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship in complying strictly with the zoning resolution. So we had,
Al,
yeah,
You want a second? Go ahead.
And would that, and that only applies to the shape of the lot, so they would have to make the case that like the
If
lot
it's like a
itself is
triangular
too
lot.
narrow.
I don't think it's limited to the lot, it's unique physical conditions, so it could be the building, the elevator, the, and
So
Paul,
I think in this situation, the developer is saying the unique physical conditions are, it's an
The landmark
outdated,
chimney.
it's landmarked, it's difficult to renovate, it's got columns in weird places now, given the current configuration of use of places like that. And other community members now saying that if you could take that as one of the criteria of the uniqueness, that the other parts of the uniqueness definition are shape of the building, size of the building within the zoning area. So Inga's point is, it's a rectangular building in a zoning area with other rectangular buildings. Their argument is, it's an outdated internal structure that they can't get commercial use of. So they're taking one side of the unique position. And Inga's, and I'm not, Inga's taking the other, of course, she's stressing the other side of the arguments that say, it's a rectangular box in a manufacturing zone.
Yeah.
That's not unique,
It's not unique.
They also-
but they're saying it is unique for another reason.
For those,
They always
But
not
not
give
for
us an
what
example
zone
of of another building that.
Current zoning is outdated perhaps, so that's their argument, I'm not.
yeah, we're not,
saying-
you have to react.
They
to it.
also bought the building knowing that.
But they don't have another building that they can point to that they say like, look, this one looks the same, but it doesn't have the rear chimney, it doesn't have the single passenger elevator, that's why this one is.
It would be a question for them to say that, we can't answer for that one. Brian, go ahead.
So this is their deck, and this is like a summary of the five. This is, I just wanna be mindful, like, this is not the definition. This is.
No, this is the definition.
This is their version.
This is their
Okay.
interpretation.
Yeah.
Of why something is suitable related to this, right? Thank you for
Yeah, I
flagging.
feel like.
We had a different
I
deck.
feel like it misses a lot. I'm
Yeah,
looking at it.
So that's part of the reason why Katie and Inga, thank you, reading out, like, okay, it's more detail. The difference here is that we didn't create a deck to sort of put them side by side and unpack it that way, so.
Yep.
Okay, anything else on uniqueness?
the next
So-
one,
Can I,
Go
I'm sorry,
ahead.
to interrupt you on that, but the deference, co-chairs, when we write the letter, it does have to say, we met this one, we did not meet this one, we met this one, we did not meet this one, so I might suggest that we
You
take
do take
votes
a
on
vote.
each section,
okay,
because we could say, we could all agree that the hardship is not self-created. And that's, whatever, and as a committee letter, it might be helpful for you as the authors to have each point we feel it has been met or it has not been met.
I'm willing to do it, the only complexity of this is, to your question. The complexity of this is, I feel like this is where we're getting into the minutia in some ways, not unreasonably so. But to vote one way or another on something that is got these different types of definitions is a little tricky.
No.
And in terms of, there are different folks in the room with different levels of expertise. And I don't wanna put anybody on the spot about trying to weigh in on something that. These are not easy questions to ask, to respond to, even if you have a point of view. So, I'm happy to weigh in and do a straw poll on this a little bit, but I wanna be respectful that. There are different ways of thinking unique. Ellen, you had a good question about, did they think about it this way? But they're not here to respond to that, so we can't answer that. That's where it gets tricky. So I'm happy to do we could straw poll this and see where we're at.
all right.
So should we read just read the chapter and verse of each of these items that as it's printed, as it's published?
Yeah. Cause it's a little more detailed.
You wanna do that?
Go for it.
Okay, sir,
Sure,
madam?
but only, like, not all five at the same time, just.
No,
Yeah,
certainly not.
Yeah.
We're gonna discuss the first one already,
Mhm.
but we need to have heard exactly what it says.
It's longer than what was.
First of all, it says the board shall make each and every one of the following findings. So all five have to be met, clearly. Okay, and they're not numbered, they're lettered. A, that there are unique physical conditions, including irregularity, narrowness or shallowness of lot size or shape or exceptional topographical or other physical conditions particular to and inherent in the particular zoning lot. And that, as a result of such unique physical conditions, practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship arise, complying strictly with the use or bulk provisions of the resolution. and that the alleged practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship are not due to circumstances created generally by the strict application of such provisions in the neighborhood or district in which the zoning lot is located. Bingo. Go. That's the first one.
Okay,
Thank you, thanks.
so, why don't we ask everyone to raise their hand if they believe that that criteria has been met? So that they believe, if you believe that,
The uniqueness.
the uniqueness criteria has been satisfied by the applicant, raise your hand. Anybody online?
Anybody online?
Can't see them.
Mike, you gotta be online. Mike, yes? You'll see your face if you.
No, I
You think
did
it's
not raise, no, I didn't raise my hand. No, sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
This is a little bit if there's an egregious foul in the next game.
Okay, so let's go on to the next category.
Okay, ready? Yes.
This is financial hardship.
B, okay, that because of such physical conditions, there is no reasonable possibility that a development, enlargement, extension, alteration, or change of use on the zoning lot in strict conformity with the provisions of this resolution will bring a reasonable return, and that the grant of a variance is therefore necessary to enable the owner to realize a reasonable return from such zoning lot. This finding shall not be required for the granting of a variance to a non-profit organization.
Exactly.
So,
Thoughts, reactions?
Yeah.
Any thoughts or reactions to this topic before we dig? Go ahead, Paul.
I mean, for me, this is where if we could have documentation, not just a piece of paper with like a random printing of a letter that says, oh, this landlord said this or that. But if we could actually have some documentation that shows the landlord of the building and Avenue School administrators are in fact interested in this. And if the developer is saying, we've exhausted all possibilities and we're not finding somebody to produce a rate of return, given what they are arguing, which we now disagree with, the uniqueness of their property. Right, I think it would be helpful for us to be able to say, we know you can get a reasonable rate of return because we have documents that say that.
Yeah.
I think that was.
Up to us without that.
It's not up to us, but I think it's just helpful.
Done this. And I, one of the chain of emails, there's actually a letter that they had reached out to Vanderbilt. A letter from them out to Vanderbilt, asking them, are you interested in this space? So we never saw them do that for Avenues, and they came into a meeting and stated clearly that they had reached out to Avenues. They said that, but we never saw a letter pointing to that, so.
Wait. Hands are up,
Sorry.
hands are up,
My turn.
hands are up. Jessica,
Actually, go ahead.
O'Brien, and then Jessica.
So I think the first piece is we actually don't know what reasonable is for this, like, we just have no idea. Is it 7, is it 20%? We don't know, and I don't think we're the experts to know that. I do think, though, would be interesting is the financial examiner, Barbara Cohen, whose letter I think was in the original Dropbox. I'd love to see the locked Excel files. Like, that's the question, right? Like, what really is the answer in terms of the return? It's a request. Although I really look at the reasonable number, like I don't know what that number is, and so it's a hard one to vote on.
Reasonable return is typically 5 to 8%.
Hold
On
on,
an
Jessica,
investment.
get your hand up, Pam, then anybody.
Agree with that, both about the reason. I think the question about their outreach actually goes under D, is like is an explanation for me of the fourth criteria. I don't feel prepared to say what a reasonable return is. I just don't, I mean, I hear what you're saying, that
That's 5 to 8%.
but I don't know.
It's one that you're defining.
Wait.
It's not necessarily-
Can we
So
just,
please stop, you're
can we
not
just-
in the industry.
can we just let folks who are speaking have the ability to finish their thought, their question, and then we can react to it, okay?
Yeah, thank you. I would just say that
Thank
I don't think it's actually for this committee to define what is reasonable, because it could be 5 to 8%. I've also heard 20% in the industry, but I don't think it matters. I don't think it's relevant. I think that, again, importantly, they have to meet all 5. We've already determined they don't meet 1.
Right.
I think we could easily say, we don't know if they've met B. at no reasonable possibility of development. And so that we have a concern about that because there are questions still outstanding. I don't think we need to define what the answer is to say that there are questions that remain.
Just, Pamela, you had your hand up, so then we'll go.
I just had one quick thing. Paul said that he didn't, have to put much stock in this letter because it's not on letterhead. Is that an issue for you or for
Yes, it
anybody
is.
else?
I
Do we
mean,
need to see it on letterhead? Because I'm sure that that's not a problem.
to answer your question directly, because you asked me the question, is that I don't want us to get into a one person said one thing, one person said another thing, and we're caught in the middle of a hearsay fight. The developer has said to us they reached out. We're hearing the developer did not reach out. We're in a conflict. It would
Okay,
make, it would
I
build
just wanted
confidence.
an answer to that
It
one
would,
question.
it would build confidence if it was on letterhead, a published document that all of us had seen. That, you know, was not a conversation you had with your.
I agree with
Yeah.
you that everyone
Yeah.
should have seen it in advance of this meeting.
Ingrid, you wanna throw in your,
Yeah, so-
go ahead, we heard something about 5 to 8.
That because of such physical conditions, there is no reasonable possibility that a development, enlargement, extension, alteration, or change of use on the zoning lot in strict conformity with the provisions of this resolution will bring a reasonable return. And that the only way they'll get it is with a variance. It doesn't matter whether they reached out to Avenues or not. They've owned the building for a very short time. They have not proven to us in any way that they would not make a reasonable rate of return.
As a,
Reasonable, not a nice
I mean,
profit.
that goes back to what
Reasonable.
reasonable is or
Right,
isn't.
correct.
I'm not
So
sure.
they've not even addressed that. Their number 2 doesn't match what
Okay.
B is over here.
Yeah,
Proceed.
So they haven't met it regardless of Avenues.
Someone online want to jump in? Mike or Baron, was that either of you?
no, I was just
There.
agreeing. Sorry, my microphone was on.
Thanks, okay.
All right, so then, can we have a vote? Is there a vote? Raise your hand. if you-
Can I just, one more thing, so the
Mhm.
economic definition, according to the economic analysis, a reasonable return is achieved when the value created by a project. Calculated by capitalizing its net operating income and sales revenue is approximately equal to the total cost of developing the project. Have they done that? Have they given us any of that information? No. So
They're operating at a loss.
they haven't developed the project, they haven't given us any of that information.
You said.
Okay, so
They have not met that second one either.
heard.
Raise your hand if you would, if you believe that the applicant has satisfied the criteria of establishing financial hardship.
If they have satisfied,
If they have satisfied. Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
let's move on.
I don't think you can move on. I think you need a couple of more, raised hands. Because I would have put my hand up if you asked, do you believe we do not have enough information to answer this question?
Yeah, but the
Yeah, that's not the
letter, the
question.
letter can't say that.
Hold on, but
Yeah.
yes, that's fair. This is what the complexity of this is. There's a lot more information that needs to be uncovered. The whole point about the financing of this project, no one around this table can answer. Because we don't have you flagged it before, Brian, we gotta go back in a set of files to go, and you have to ask yourself, is that our responsibility? Marty, to your point, there are a bunch of other questions that have to be answered. I agree with you, okay? At this stage, I think there's something important about this committee, for the first time, this iteration of this committee, just working through these conditions. So we're just gaining some knowledge. What I'd like to hear is those questions that you'd like to have answered. It'd be great to have that on the record in a sense, right? So we remember the next time something like this comes up, we know what questions we might need to call on and get answered in the future. Okay, so I don't want to get into what more do you need to, it's simply a matter at this stage of saying, is there support for a specific particular condition? And there are too many questions to answer that. I got it, check.
That's the letter, Peter, let's move
Got
on.
it. Let's move on to the third condition.
So they did provide a financial analysis, did the committee chairs read it and go through it and?
I went through their presentation. I didn't go through any other material besides what the presentation offered. There were two different presentations that were offered, and I would suggest in both cases, it was them doing the analysis. There was no one around this table that was cross-referencing with a level of expertise to say, let me push back on this. A deficit perhaps of this committee is that we need additional resources or supports to be able to do that. My point is, it's a question. And that's what's gonna happen with this committee. And in this process, I hope that we're learning how to unpack things as we go forward so we can be as informed as we can be. Because I don't want anyone on this table feeling left behind when we have hard conversations. And I remember that being something we talked about.
But it's interesting,
A while back.
yeah, I do recall reading and noting that in their argument, they say that the previous owner had reached out like 12 different possible and hadn't been able to rent to anybody. Then they bought it, and then they said that they reached out to the one school. And I remember thinking like, oh, they're talking about like 12 with the other one, but they themselves have only sort of went through this process with one possible applicant. So I also remember thinking like, oh, it doesn't seem like that they've really established in the course of the last year. So anyway, so that's why I wasn't persuaded, but, okay.
Third condition.
Yes, third condition, this is neighborhood character and public
Who
welfare.
wants to read three? Who wants to read this one?
We have C coming up next.
Yeah, go ahead. I've got the same thing. I think mine's just,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna read.
Okay,
Thank you.
it says that the variance, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or district in which the zoning lot is located, will not substantially impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property, and will not be detrimental to the public welfare. There you go.
Thoughts and reactions to number three. Or questions,
I remember in the, May
please.
in the meeting, in the May meeting with them, we brought this up,
Mhm.
and their response was, well, there are many luxury buildings nearby, further west and at the other end of the block, and therefore that whole thing about changing the character of the neighborhood is already blown.
correct.
That was their argument. So, for what it's worth, there
They
you go.
want to change the neighborhood.
Any other thoughts of reactions? To number three.
I personally don't see the change of this as changing the character of the neighborhood. I mean, I think that this block is very, you know, that area is going through lots of change.
Building.
Right, and so you're gonna put residences there instead of a managed. So if I can finish my thoughts.
Yeah, let everybody
finish
talk.
my
Let-
thought,
let-
please?
Paul, go ahead, Paul, go ahead.
Thank you. So the area has schools and manufacturing, and you're gonna put residential next to a school. To me, that doesn't seem to change the character of the neighborhood when you have residences next to schools. That doesn't seem to me to be an alteration of neighborhood character.
Thanks, Paul. Inga, go ahead.
It's
Brian, your
private,
hand's up next.
it's a private school. Most of the students come from far away. It's not like it's a Milkwood neighborhood or a public school. It is a high school. There are art buildings, galleries, and putting a luxury penthouse building in there is altering the neighborhood.
Thank you, Inga. Hold on, Brian, okay,
Just
okay,
a-
Brian, go
Just a
ahead.
comment, there's actually
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
school and an elementary school also, besides
Yeah.
high school.
True.
I would say that the lack of enthusiasm for paying for the West Chelsea for whatever the name of that fund is, actually degrades, for the public character of the neighborhood.
Yeah, Brian.
You're not, I'll tell you what, you had an option to sort of pay for include affordable units or sort of, you know, fund this thing, and you chose neither, and I think that degrades it.
Jessica, you had your hand up.
I'm prepared to vote. It's okay.
Okay,
Right.
all right. Any other thoughts or reactions?
I thought they said they would make a
I
donation
was,
to that.
I was gonna say, they did say in their, that they would be willing to have further discussion or something. Anyway, there is language in there saying, they're not saying, but they're not
Well,
making
say,
any.
There's no,
There's no,
yeah.
there's no.
And also it's very complicated to think about what numbers and that's,
Right,
okay,
right.
but go ahead.
All right,
Okay.
so raise your hand if you believe that they have satisfied that it wouldn't change the neighborhood character and public welfare. I'm sorry, Mike, can you,
Mike's hand is up, I see. Mike, you up, as a hand up, right? Yep. Aaron's down, just two.
Okay, so that was 6 total. All right, and then, people who, if you believe that they haven't changed the neighborhood character.
No, wait.
Yeah,
No,
phrase that.
Phrase that.
Tricked ourselves on that one.
The variance would change.
Would.
Yes, if you believe that
Would.
would change the neighborhood character, okay, yes.
Totally.
I'm sorry, is your pen, your hand, okay, 1, 2, 5, 6, 6, okay.
How about
And is there
And one variant, one variant.
7? All right. Okay, so that is,
No.
no, so that's 6 to 7.
I think the 6 to 7 is a good indication of how difficult this question is.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
We're already we've already got multiple no's here as well, but I think it's good for us to practice
Yeah,
here.
exactly, okay.
Go
I
ahead.
think the point should just be made that it is, as it exists at this moment, it is not a residential neighborhood.
Okay.
It's an empty warehouse.
Now,
The
the,
facility itself is an empty word.
for the next criteria, this is the one about the hardship not being self-created.
Hardship, not, I know where this one's gonna go. All right, who wants to read
Am I
this one?
reading?
Yes,
You
please.
can read.
You're
Okay.
doing great, Pamela, thank you.
Thank you. It's D, and it says that the practical difficulties, unnecessary hardship claimed as a ground for a variance have not been created by the owner or by a predecessor in title. However, where all other required findings are made, the purchase of a zoning lot subject to the restrictions sought to be varied shall not itself constitute a self-created hardship. And E, shall I keep going?
No.
And,
That's it,
Okay.
that's it.
So, yes, so this is.
And their comment was the hardship results from the building's inherent physical conditions and zoning restrictions, not from actions taken by the current owner.
Right, so this is
That
about
was their-
whether or not they have caused the difficulty.
Thoughts and reactions?
I don't think that they have created the different, but they bought an old warehouse.
Yep.
But they didn't create the problem.
they just bought it knowingly.
Hold on, Ellen and then Inga, go ahead. Ellen.
They also do make the point that the market has changed, like they bought it thinking that the market for office conversions was gonna be stronger than it is, which is, I think, in my opinion, reasonable. I mean, that market has actually had a major glut since COVID. And a lot of it's very high-end office space.
Thank you all. Inga?
They bought it in early 2025. The market has not changed that much, even if they,
I thought it was gonna be great.
No, I think
No.
I thought it was earlier than that.
no,
Oh, we got that.
the property was sold at a substantial loss in 2024. They. New ownership then,
Mhm.
2025, early 2025. They haven't had it that long. They bought knowing what the markets are.
Okay.
Cause 2024 and 2025 are post-COVID. And the markets weren't happening.
Okay.
We already knew that the
Wait, the
commercial,
property was sold, it's not, the property would be sold to the new owners. It's
these
not that-
guys,
In 2024.
late 2024, because in early 2025 is when they first settled it. So the market hasn't really changed since then for office spaces. It was already tanking heavily at that time.
Okay. let's
They
pause
bought
there.
it at a substantial loss, knowing that they would have a hard time, but what have they done with it in a year?
Okay, let's-
They've
let's-
not asked a lot of people to do anything. They've not really marketed it. So they bought it now. So they kind of created their own hardship.
If they, I think they made a comment in more than one case that they would say they did make an effort. I'm not,
It was a
Agree or
bad, poor
disagree?
effort.
they would say that they have made multiple efforts. Brian, go ahead.
They didn't buy it at a loss, right? Like they bought it at the price, right? That's just one comment on it. So, I would, I've said before, like this is a terrible track to go on. Like we no, when you make a bad stock investment, you're not gonna go to the community board and say like, I screwed up, I need help from the community board, and this is what this group is trying to do.
Hmm.
So I'm sorry that you bought a bad piece of real estate. I'm not going to agree to bail you out on the hardship, not self-created.
Market.
But this one says, that just isn't the criteria.
Relevant.
Wait, hold on, let's take it, let's, wait. Let's take it one at a time. Brian made a comment. Viren, I see your hand up. Viren, why don't you go ahead, and then we'll pass it along here, and folks can react or respond or add new comments. Viren, go ahead.
Yes, very quickly. I mentioned that before. I mean, I think I'm not hearing everyone very clearly. So if I repeat something that you guys have said, don't feel offended. I'm having a hard time hearing everyone properly. But my fundamental question is the same one. Did they already know before they bought the property what the limitations were? And if they did and they still bought it because they got a good price or whatever that might be, I think that's something that we should really take a good look at. The other question I have is, were there any prior alterations or lot assemblies or anything that was responsible for creating the hardship? From what we know, I don't think any such thing does exist. The other last question I have is that is the sort of hardship a consequence of owners' own desire for their sort of development objectives rather than site conditions? I think that's exactly what makes me feel that this is not a hardship that is inherently sort of, how do I put it? It's not a hardship that they didn't know about. They knew about it. Now they're sort of trying to create an opportunity for themselves, and I think that's problematic.
Thank you, Viren, inside the room. Ellen, did you want to respond to anything or add something?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some public interest in allowing them to repurpose a bad investment because the market for that investment or the market that they thought existed for that investment no longer exists or whatever. It's different from a purchase made in a free market. I think this is, we don't want a building to sit empty and to slowly decay. We want it to be used. And if we have to rezone it to get it used, that's fine. If we don't, that's better. So we want to make sure that all the criteria are met. But I think that this criteria, personally, I think this criteria is met. Like, I don't think that they bought this with the expectation that they would just operate it at a loss forever. I think that they bought it thinking that they would be able to lease it.
Thank you. Other thoughts? Marty, do you want to add anything?
I think I'd like to hear the last part of the point E, is it, or D?
D.
Want me to reread?
The last part of it says something about purchasing, should not be a criteria.
Well, it's kind of hard to break it down because it's all one
So we
sentence.
should read the whole,
Yeah, read the whole thing.
That the practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship claimed as a ground for a variance have not been created by the owner or by a predecessor in title. However, where all other required findings are made, the purchase of a zoning lot subject to the restrictions sought to be varied should not in itself constitute a self-created hardship. Does that make sense?
The purchase parts that however subclause talks about, we're talking about their purchase and our reaction to their purchase. But doesn't that exclude that condition from our discussion?
Interesting.
I would like to hear Brian's reaction to that. Because you were the one that had raised that most consistently, and I agree, I have to agree with you, but I just.
Hardship claimed as a ground for variance have not been created by the owner or by a predecessor and have not been created. I think that's the point of discussion. Has it been created or not by them or the owner that had the WeWork in there before?
No, you slipped away from the issue that I was trying to raise.
The however.
The
however.
Huh?
The however part?
Yeah,
Where all other required findings are made, the purchase of a zoning lot subject to the restrictions sought to be varied shall not itself constitute a self-created hardship.
Right, just because you bought it, understanding that these restrictions exist doesn't mean that you created the hardship for yourself.
that's what I think I heard.
Oh, okay. Inga, hand up, go ahead.
However, they haven't owned it very long, and we don't know how much marketing they've done to try to lease it. Schools, dorms, any other kind of, they just want penthouses in there.
Again,
That's the no reasonable return.
yeah, again, if they were here, I think they would say they did make an effort.
And then they would, I think,
But what, have we seen that effort? Have they
Again.
proven the effort?
Again,
How do we know?
in their presentation, on two different presentations, they came in and said they did.
So
Did we
but
have a
no
running
proof-
list and
But we
tab
have no
and
proof of their effort.
No, we didn't, I don't think we were deep diving during the course of the presentations we heard like that. I was simply saying to something that we're flagging, something that we heard. That's all. That's all.
I think.
Alright, so I don't know
there
that
no
there
other.
Fair.
Oh,
Josephine, go
I'll
ahead.
say one other thing, I mean, because it's interesting what they choose to share.
Yeah.
And not share. So they shared a letter that they had reached out to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's way down, Vanderbilt was never gonna say yes,
Yeah.
it's a split campus, why would they do that, right? But they didn't share other letters that they had sent to other,
Presumably.
right, presumably sent, so why haven't they sent them? That just doesn't make any sense.
Good question.
So it's our job to evaluate the applicant's claim, and we have nothing from them saying or showing or proving. So we cannot say that they didn't create
Well,
this
they
hardship themselves,
presented
so.
their case and we
So
can choose
we
to
are,
accept
we
that or not accept
evaluated it
that.
and we see, what do we see? We see nothing, so in our evaluation, we have no knowledge of them marketing it to anybody but one person. So we can't say that they met number 4, they haven't,
Thank-
based on our evaluation.
Marty, do you wanna add? No, okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so I have a different take on that. I think that this particular criteria is whether or not they have done something specific to create a hardship that they're now trying to use as an excuse for the variance. And I don't think that they've done anything specific. I think that the other financial issues fall under different criteria. So anyway, just in this particular one, I don't believe that they have done anything to create an unnecessary hardship.
By not trying to market it to other people.
No,
That's up for, let's pause here.
Yeah.
We've received.
We were evaluating
We've
what
heard
we
you.
have, the application they gave us, and
Yeah.
based on that information, they have marketed to one person.
Right, which is.
Because
And
we-
that's
but let's-
themselves a hardship.
But let's, I think it's really, really important that we just sort of pause here for a second and say, message received. I hear what you're saying. I was putting forward that the proof presenters said that they had. If the question for us as a body going forward is, what evidence is there?
Yeah.
Then let's remember for the future that everything has to be in writing. It has to have a letterhead on it. It has to have, like, if that's the way we wanna function, we can remember that for the future, okay? But here's where we are now. And again, I understand what you're saying, get it, it was just putting forward what they had shared, but let's remember for the future how we're gonna use evidence to guide our understanding. Jessica, sorry.
I would also offer that earlier, I think it was on point 1, Marty brought something up and it was like, well, that would be an interesting thing to follow up on in subsequent conversations if we have them. And I similarly feel like that would be another example, like, do we want to request documentation or correspondence or date, like, and
That's it.
those things. But that's not, so like, that goes in a third category of like, if we want to come back and the applicant comes back, we should have that list of things we're requesting.
Right.
It still may mean we don't feel we have sufficient evidence to prove that they did that outreach because we haven't seen enough of it, and that might be a point in the letter that we would reference depending on how this. Vote, did we do a vote on this one?
No, I
Yeah,
think we're getting
yeah,
ready for that.
Exactly, so like, I think that could be commentary, but I don't think we can say definitively, because we didn't request it.
Go ahead, let's go,
Alright.
let's,
So, raise your hand if you believe that the, hardship that they are citing here,
Has been met.
That they created.
it has not,
well, let's get hold on, let's give Katie the opportunity to have the wording here.
Yeah. The issue is whether or not it's self-created. So raise your hand if you believe that the hardship that they are citing is not self-created. So I would vote yes there.
It's, even the,
Wait, time out,
Okay,
rewind for a sec.
All right.
Is there a suggestion you want to make on how to,
Question.
how to
How do you
present
wanna say
that a little bit more clearly, Paul?
did they create the hardship? Yes or no? So.
it? Okay, raise your hand if you believe that
That's a
they.
self-created, did they not self-create to me?
Okay,
Okay, let's
So
try that one more time,
we
Katie.
believe
Yeah.
they created the hardship.
um,
Right, if they created the hardship, then it's not self-created, like they can back it out.
Did they create the hardship?
It's self, if it's not self-created, did they create it or not? So, but not, I think the word self-created
Yeah, but
is.
you have to,
All right,
with
it's
two
confusing.
votes, so.
Hold on, so, raise your hand if you believe. So the problem is.
What's the
people say
hardship?
Haven't created it.
Correct.
Right, it's a
You're, the way
different
you said it was right.
definition, right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back, rewind.
Hold
Katie,
on.
Well, before you ask the
Okay.
question.
Yeah.
We're saying. I like he got rid of the negatives, that's cool.
Uh-huh.
The hardship. They created the hardship, it was the way I think you put it. What's the hardship? That they can't lease it? What's the hardship?
The hardship results in their mind from the building's inherent physical conditions because they need to change the zoning because they have tried to make an effort and that's what's preventing.
You're saying.
That's what they're saying. I'm not saying it.
The hardship is that they
Can't
can't
lease it.
they can't at least do a manufacturing facility.
And the
They
question is,
create that hardship, they
Or an
can't.
art gallery.
Or an art gallery or school or anything, or something other than residential.
And they haven't.
Like they're
they
requesting a
haven't something.
variance, they're
They haven't
requesting,
attempted.
they're requesting a variance to residential.
So your point is that we don't know the hardship exists.
They created the hardship.
Well, no,
well, that's.
That's
okay, that's your
Marketed it to anyone.
We're gonna vote on that.
That's her interpretation. Okay, Katie, let's try one more time.
Or, did they create the hardship themselves? Say it that way.
I think you need to stick to
Yeah.
this self-created,
Yeah.
because you're changing the question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna go,
Yeah, I agree.
Katie,
So-
we're gonna lean on you to
Yes.
frame this. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right, so raise your hand if you believe that the hardship. Is not self-created, like, look at that language right there. Raise your hand if you believe that the hardship is not self-created. Okay. And then, I can't actually see online, can you see that?
Mike, hand up.
Right in the room.
Right, well, that's 4, okay. And then raise your hand if you believe the hardship is self-created. Anybody online?
Viren.
That's 8, okay, thank you.
I don't know if it matters, but I'm saying.
Abstaining, yeah, I figured, but okay, but you're right, and anybody else abstaining?
You didn't do any present by that. Very
Right.
good.
All right, and, okay, all right.
As the owner of Avenues, I wanna jump in here. All right, go ahead.
Now we're going to the whether or not it's a minimum
What
variance.
was the number, what was the total?
Oh, sorry, that was 4
To 8 and
to
one
8 to
extension.
1.
Okay, here we go. Number 5, here it is, minimum variance. Pamela, you want to read it this last one first, go ahead.
This time be dramatic.
It's
Be
short,
dramatic with drama, well.
it's one sentence.
A lot of drama.
That within the intent and purposes of this resolution, the variance, if granted, is the minimum variance necessary to afford relief. And to this end, the board may permit a lesser variance than that applied for. Period. And then there's a closing statement after that.
And as a reminder, the presentation, minimum variance necessary, the application seeks only a use variance to allow residential occupancy while maintaining the existing building envelope, requesting no bulk or density relief. Inga, I see Inga's hand, go ahead.
So they are proposing that 36% of the units will be 5 bedrooms.
I think that was the original proposal.
Yeah, they did, I'm sorry, wait, time out, Inga, finish your thought.
They're proposing that 36% of the units will be 5 bedrooms. That seems,
What?
Keep going, keep going.
it's a lot.
It's a lot, okay.
5 bedrooms. These
Yeah.
are huge apartments. They're going to make, I mean, they're maximizing the profit here
Mhm.
by renting 5 bedroom apartments.
That is what I see.
Pause, remember, there was multiple tables, hold on,
But this is a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So they've changed it.
Yes.
However, their original proposal. And then they went back and came back with a different number.
Okay.
If they get this variance, they can still do the 5 bedrooms. They do not, remember,
I hear you.
if they get the variance, they can make it one family, it could be a one family building.
God, you've made
They
that.
can do whatever they want. So
What
us
they-
saying, change it to this, change it to that, it means nothing.
Jessica, and then I'll go Paul.
Irrespective of what they do or do not propose, I don't see how that's relevant to the description here. So I think it's not about, there's nothing in here that suggests that it's about the interior of the building. It says the existing building envelope, they're requesting no bulk or density relief. I don't believe they're requesting that. So I may have concerns about that, but it just isn't relevant for this bullet, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jessica, go ahead, Paul.
I would agree that the variance they're looking at is to go from manufacturing to residential. What they do with the residential, I agree with you. They can make it one big single family home if they wanted to, if it goes to residential. That doesn't mean it's the minimum, that there's a minimum variance, right? They're not asking for bulk changes, they're not asking for landmark preservation changes, they're not asking for a lot of other things that could be changed on this property. So for me, this is a pretty minimal variance. It's one change. And how they use it is, different, but it is a very minimal change.
Anybody else wanna weigh in?
I think it's a major change. They're changing the neighborhood, they're changing the use of the building. That's a major change.
Okay, so we got to pick, that's disagree, got it, okay, anybody else wanna weigh in? Kate, go ahead, last one, go ahead.
Does anybody want this?
No, not online.
Okay.
Does anybody want the last finishing statement to be read?
And
We should vote.
No, and they
No, we vote.
could actually just convert half the
No,
building to
I'm talking
residential.
about
I
the
mean,
No,
final.
they can.
Hold up, time out.
Is there
Pamela.
conclusions?
Okay, you wanna, Pamela, if you think it's relevant, feel free.
Well, I don't know how many people actually have access to this.
well, everybody does, but no one else.
I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with what it is, so if
Okay.
you feel like it's relevant, go
It's
ahead.
their final
Go
statement
ahead, go ahead.
after all of these points.
Go ahead, and then we're gonna.
It shall be a further requirement that the decision or determination of the board shall set forth each required finding in each specific grant of a variance and in each denial thereof which of the required findings have not been satisfied. In any such case, each finding shall be supported by substantial evidence or other data considered by the board in reaching its decision, including the personal knowledge of or inspection by the members of the board, reports of other city agencies made as a result of inquiry by the board shall not be considered hearsay, but may be considered by the board as if the data therein contained were secured by personal inspection. That's their disclaimer.
Okay. Fifth
Okay.
bullet,
Oh,
fifth
no,
condition,
great
fifth
condition.
condition.
Marty.
Marty, go ahead.
Just to educate me, is there a variance that could be less than switching from manufacturing to residential? Is this really the minimum variance?
They could convert only half the building.
Conversion,
So time out. I'm gonna respond to this in this way, Marty. If anybody wants to weigh in on on how best to respond to that question, I'm gonna be honest with you, as coach, I'm not sure what the best response is to that question.
Yeah.
So if folks wanna weigh in on that, feel free. I'm gonna just tell you right off the top, Marty, I don't know. So if others wanna weigh in, feel free in terms of the minimum. Inga, you mentioned, well, they could do half the building. I heard that. Paul, I also heard that's not something that can be done.
you can't rezone half a
Okay,
lot.
sorry.
It's impossible.
Viren now has his hand up. Viren, would you like to weigh in on this? Thank you. Viren, go ahead.
Yeah. I think we have to read this very carefully. It's minimum necessary relief. So the question in my mind is the requested amount of relief really minimum necessary? Could a smaller variance achieve the same objective? And has applicant analyzed reduced scale alternatives? So in my opinion, the ask is not the minimum necessary relief, it's the maximum necessary relief, meaning you're actually changing the use completely. You're practically doing rezoning of an existing lot in a remarkable way. So it's not like you're asking for the list that we need so that we have, the relief that we need. What we're asking for is a very small change, and therefore it should be approved. That seems to be the argument. But when you look at the application, that's not the case.
Right, the word minimum here, minimum typically means one thing. In this case, minimum maybe means something different.
Something else, all right.
Let's
so
pause here
ready
and go to the
for-
votes. I think we
So
can.
it's called spot zoning and you can rezone a manufacturing building to partial residential. It's complicated,
You have to do a lot. You
it's
can't do it.
complicated, but it's called spot zoning.
Okay.
No, spot
And you
zoning
can
is something-
do
spot
one
zoning is
building.
one spot within a manufacturing zone, that all of the zoning areas around it
You
are
could
spotted.
zone a
by this.
manufacturing
Where are you
building to
reading that from?
incorporate residential use. But the process is complex. Rezoning typically requires a formal municipal application.
Let's have-
You can do it.
I'm gonna Google other things then.
We've lost the thread.
Let's not. Marty, you asked a good question.
Yeah.
It's hard to answer that question.
Thanks for your
We heard
answer.
some different points of view on it. Karen, thank you for weighing in. Let's do our fifth
Are you
condition.
ready? Raise your hand if you believe that the applicant has used the minimum variance necessary.
This is to attain their purpose.
To attain their purpose, that's right. To attain their purpose, minimum variance necessary.
Mike, yes. Viren, yes. Both hands up.
Okay.
Not to attain their
No, no,
purpose,
no,
it's
no.
to attain.
My hand is not up, it's my hand to
Oh, I'm sorry,
speak, I'm sorry.
Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's minimum.
I
relief,
apologize, Viren.
Not their purpose.
Viren, I apologize. Viren's
Specifically.
hand is down.
Okay. But Mike's hand was up, yes,
Minimum
Mike?
relief,
Oh,
not
shoot,
relief.
hold on.
Purposes.
Okay,
Minimum relief, not their purpose.
so I
Alan,
believe
do you
that
wanna
would
jump
be
in on that
seven.
thing? Do you wanna clarify anything or no? You're okay.
Well, just the wording of it is within the intents and purposes of this resolution, the variance, if granted, is so. So that means that like in order to get what they're.
To achieve their goal.
Yeah, to achieve their goal, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was 7 in favor.
Thanks, Mike. We got you. Do you wanna jump in, Mike, or you just voted, right?
No, it's
Okay.
good. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Mike.
now, raise your hand if you believe that the applicant has not used the minimum variance necessary to achieve their purpose.
No, to afford relief. It's not,
Okay.
And they could rezone this entire place residential and says,
So
so
let's-
let's BSA for a special permit. That's a
What- listen.
different way of doing this.
But
This is a
they
minimal
should
action.
be
that they're doing.
chatting away.
Yeah, I think we need to,
So if Inga's gonna blurt out, I can
We,
blurt out.
we can't keep having conversations internally, please.
Hold on. I appreciate both of you jumping in and I just want us to all be able to hear the content that's moving. The reality though is when you have we've said it one way, now you're saying yes, and then it's a no. We're in no. You can't change the framing of the question at that point.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
can I just?
No.
You stated
No.
the actual.
We've already had,
But it's factually incorrect, what you
we've
stated,
already had it,
but we voted on something that's factually not correct.
it's for you, it's in the record right now. We got it.
Yeah.
Can you just do that
So-
no on this,
Yeah,
please?
so again,
Hold on.
So
No,
raise
no, no, no,
Yeah,
no, no.
okay, I have
No,
to say, I
no.
am not understanding this. Therefore, I had better
Then-
abstain
Great,
because I don't get it.
okay, I believe that you did, and you didn't vote yes earlier.
I have not voted.
Okay, marvelous. Okay, I will get to abstentions in a moment. Okay. Raise your hand if you believe that the applicant has not used the minimum variance necessary to achieve their goal.
It's to afford relief, that's what it says.
okay, no, you can interpret, you're
It's
putting
only
the
just-
document, you're putting the document up and we got it.
Yeah.
What we did was, we took a vote with a yes, and we're just using the same thing. If you're a no, you're a no. If you're an abstain, you're an abstain. We need to move forward. But you have made it very,
Something that doesn't, that's not.
and right now,
So
we're
each one of these
as-
points we have rephrased to make it easier for people to understand. Each one of the votes we have taken has done exactly what you're complaining about now.
Paul.
Thank you.
Please,
Paul.
if she can blurt, I can blurt.
Paul, thank you, Paul. Thank you. I'm saying
I
thank you.
just want to vote.
Thank you, Paul.
Raise your hand if you're a no. I have to be a no. Anybody else a no? Or else is everybody else? Okay, so. okay.
Wait a second. No, we've got to go back now. Now you've confused everybody again.
Well, I think everybody's confused now.
Look,
No,
are they seeking the minimum necessary variance? That's the question. Are they or are they not?
Yes,
Are
Mike,
they
thank
seeking
you.
the minimum? Yes, they are.
Exactly.
My vote,
Yes.
they're seeking the minimum
Okay.
because
They
nobody's
have-
defined for me.
Well,
What
earlier, yeah.
is in fact something minimum more minimum than what you're speaking. I just don't know. I don't know.
Thank you, Mike. We
Yeah,
got you.
so I
Alright.
got you as a yes. And then the
Yes.
question is there anybody who is voting no, they are not seeking the minimum? Is there anybody who's a no? Just one. All right, now,
Viren, is your hand up for no on that?
I'm not following the question yet at all. I'm so confused going back and forth.
Okay,
Forgive me.
I don't, at this stage, I don't know what more to offer here, except Katie's gonna restate. We've
Well,
done
actually,
yes.
yeah.
You can restate with the no. I think you've done that, now we're in the abstention
yes,
phase.
we're gonna ask
I'm not sure what more we can offer at this point.
who would like to abstain from voting on the question of minimum variance? Abstain.
Thank you. Viren has his hand up.
Lovely. And that math checks out. So we have 7 yes, 6 abstain, 1 no.
And on the record is that the way in which this was framed was not in alignment with what it was that the conditions indicate. We agree on that point, and perhaps if we need to go back to that in the
Yeah.
future, we can dig into it. I don't think that's necessary at this point.
And we had a
Points
good
well taken.
conversation and we understand the points people raised about minimum variance. Okay, so now, as we raised at the beginning of this conversation, we'll write a letter saying that our committee has voted that they have not met all the criteria, and here are the criteria we believe that they have not met. And then we can still say, but in case you, BSA, decide to approve this application, here are some conditions that we would like you to impose. So then, and you may recall that we did discuss conditions at our last meeting, and in fact, they were included in our draft letter.
Correct.
And so the question is, do we want to include those same conditions, or are there any other conditions that anybody would want? Well, actually, I guess first the question is, do we support including conditions in case the BSA does go ahead and impose this or approve this?
Meaning, going back to the last letter in terms of the conditions that are included.
Exactly, well,
Let's just put it together.
so we're gonna send them a letter saying we vote no. But hey, are we all?
Yeah, put in the conditions.
To put in
Thank
conditions,
you.
yes, are we all favorable of putting in conditions? Okay.
Thank you.
And are there any conditions that anybody would like to add, other than the ones that were already included in the draft letter based on our conversation from last time? And would you like us to read those out loud again?
Sure.
'Cause I can
Pam
find
has her
them.
hand up.
Pam, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Are we, in those things that we asked for last time, are we asking for solid documentation of whatever outreach they have done in the community?
Good
Or-
addition. No,
Because
that
we,
was
as far as
not,
I know, we never saw anything.
that was not included last time, so that would be a good
Do we
addition.
not think that that would be a good thing?
That seems like a reasonable addition. Brian, go ahead.
Can we ask for the
Financial.
full? Let's use,
Brian, go ahead.
the Barbara Cohn financials, like the unlocked spreadsheet, please.
Got it? Unlock the spreadsheet. No, we can add, that doesn't mean you can't ask. You can't mean you can't ask. Okay. Other conditions to add.
Can we ask them to just show us evidence that they have reached out to both the owner of that building and the school that occupies it
Yes, ma'am. That's,
specifically?
yes, we got that specifics. Yes.
Great.
I'm sorry,
Rodney.
is the letter going to the applicant or?
No, it was the BSA. I'm sorry.
I'm just asking, so in this letter, we're gonna state the BSA that we're asking for financials? Or we're gonna ask the applicant?
The letter, we only have one letter, so
I mean, I guess Frank, I mean, to your point, I guess we could have two, right? Like we can,
Not to my point, I'm asking for
Sorry.
clarification.
Yeah.
You guys are saying you're gonna ask for financials, you're gonna ask for all the missing data that we never received initially, but if the letter's going to,
BSA, yeah, I see your point.
so that's what I'm asking.
So it might be, and it sounds like we were also saying earlier, we wanna make sure that they know, we believe that they do, but we wanna make sure that they know that Avenues is interested, that we could actually write 2 letters, right?
I'm gonna pause.
Okay.
Not 2 letters. We'll come back to that, Ron, but go ahead,
I
Jessica.
would recommend well, I would build on what your question is, highlighting to say that they should be CC'd one, and to the applicant. And two, I think we should indicate to the BSA that if they do approve, they should request that the applicant come back to the community board and address the following concerns, which might include that request.
That means one letter with that.
So I think it's still one letter. By the way,
There it is.
if they get the approval to Inga's point, there's
Yeah,
no like,
they're home free. They're
yeah,
home
they don't have to come back. And they did come multiple times. They spent many hours here, and I think we should hope that they, even if we're feeling, I mean, I even question their, forthrightness, but I hope that we're mistaken and that they will come back and be willing to engage.
Thank you, Jessica.
Then another question regarding the letter. Will we note the multiple meetings that we had? I know you guys, I think there were other meetings in the clue meeting, like certain people met with them as well, right?
Clue chairs did not, we've only spoken to the district manager who shared information with us. That's it. That's all we can, I think, comment on from where we sit.
Yeah.
There are others amongst us who may have had conversations because they knew people
Oh,
that were associated, but I think we're gonna isolate this on what we know.
Yeah.
Okay?
Can I state something, Greg?
Oh, sorry, Mike, go ahead. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Just a comment. There's a new chairman of BSA for the last couple of days. So it's gonna be interesting what he does. But just a point of reference, we're making giving our opinion based on one property, right? We're not stating that in the future, another building might be worthy of variance in this district, right?
Yeah,
we
we're,
don't want-
yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, we want more housing, right? Affordable or not. We got to get rid of some of these manufacturing locations if that's going to happen. And then, by the way, there is a luxury building just basically across the street, 500 West 25th Street is a luxury building. So anyway, so that is not our position. We're not trying to stop this across the board, right?
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
So, I'm sorry, I started looking up I was gonna.
Actually,
read
let's
you
pause,
the
let's pause on that. Let's pause on that.
Okay,
We just added a couple additional conditions. We've
Yep.
got a comment as to how we're gonna communicate with the CC. And guys, your hand up while you look for that.
So-
Inga, while your hands up, go ahead.
Why would a conforming development be unable to achieve their goal, a reasonable return? That should be something we ask the
Okay,
BSA.
okay. Reasonable to weave that question in, okay? Okay,
And, I mean,
okay.
they still,
Proceed.
even in the second iteration, they still want the 5,500 square foot penthouse, correct?
I don't remember at this point.
I
'Cause there was
believe in
multiple
the second
presentations.
iteration, they
No,
still.
there was a change. Yeah, I don't remember. I know we
So
did talk about that.
that
last
to
time. It's a
me,
month
again,
ago.
just doesn't seem like a minimum
Okay.
requirement.
They
Let's
changed,
proceed.
from their initial was 14 units, and they came back with 19.
Well, one is still
But they still kept the
5,500
yeah, they
square
kept the
feet.
penthouse.
Hold on.
Seem like a minimum variance.
Okay, that's a question.
I think
Got
they
your
should
question.
look at those.
Got the
things.
question. Okay. Is there anything we want to do about checking on the conditions from last?
Variance needs.
why can't I find, oh, I know, sorry, wasn't in Word, my bad. Or Natalie, can you just actually pull up the draft letter?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's the fastest way to find it.
Meanwhile,
No, he's not.
whoever's got the letter that I circulated.
Oh, we gotta swing it back around.
Can I have it back?
Here it is, right here. I got it.
Thanks very much.
There you. Thank you.
Natalie, thank you for looking for it.
Thank you, Nellie.
Sorry.
Do you have any public testimony tonight? Public testimony?
Yeah.
I had a suspicion you might be thinking about that. Give us a minute, we'll do this and then we'll do the.
Test. Okay. Now we're
Public comments. Public comments.
just looking for the draft.
I like some of whatever's sitting in the middle of the table that no one can read.
Another way to frame that could be, please feel free to share the candy.
Very much.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian, thank you very much. We used to have snacks at these meetings.
The whole thing.
We're gonna, you know what, here. That's what you get. Nellie, are you still looking? It's okay.
Okay, this is dinner.
Be that as it may.
Not a bad one.
Yes, I am. Sorry. Give me, I need a few more minutes.
You're great. Thank you. In the meantime, let's do public comment.
Yeah, that's good.
If it's okay, I'd like to do public comment.
Okay, yeah.
You have 2 minutes. You have to introduce yourself. You have to stand up here so you can see you on screen. Come on, come on.
Okay.
You know the routines.
Yeah, Andre, 352 West 20th Street,
Thank you.
Just Neighbors Coalition. My public comment is this: I was particularly interested in this proposal, but could not get access to any of the materials unless I wrote to Jesse directly, and he kindly sent them to me. I think it's really important that this be available in the Dropbox for the public. You want people to come to these meetings. There's no way they're showing up if they don't have the information. So I think that's a real oversight, and I request that you do that. And I also want to comment, I watched the discussion from last meeting and did my research. I want to say that I don't see the utility in requesting that they create more 1,200 and 1,400, 1,500 square foot one bedrooms. If you price out those apartments by square foot, they end up being more expensive and less affordable than a larger unit. So I'm just curious if you can offer next time an explanation and rationale for why you did that in that as a amendment or as a request from the developer.
Thank you, both points. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Nellie, while you're looking, but I have them, I'm just gonna read them out loud, the ones that we have.
Well, you're right. Does anybody else want candy while we're sitting here? We can pass this around. These are, where did you do? Is that Google candy?
No, it's from, what's the name of that Scandinavian store?
Bonbon?
The other one, the other one.
Rainbow.
It was their product flavors
candy.
today.
Where's the store?
West Village store, what's it called?
A little sweet treat.
I want more of those. That's good. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you. Go
Are
ahead.
they sour or sweet?
Kind of in the middle.
Life is a little
They're
bit.
not super sour, yeah.
It's gonna take the rest of the night to chew it out.
Brian.
Yeah, Brian. Give it up for Brian. Brian.
It was a much larger bag that I don't.
Yeah.
I'll tell you later.
We knew that.
Yeah, we can. Okay. All right, go ahead.
So, we say here, MCB4 requests that any approval by the BSA subject the applicant to the following conditions to address the concerns of our community. Number 1, provide a housing affordability memo that sets forth the cost of developing some or all of the building into affordable housing. Submit a final count for the building, as the applicant stated at both clue meetings that the unit count was not yet final. 3, rent the commercial space on the ground floor to a nonprofit or community group. 4, make a sizable space on the rooftop available to all residential occupants of the building. 5, donate an appropriate meaningful contribution to the West Chelsea Housing Fund.
Chelsea.
6, actively seek community input, open paren, e.g. more than mere letters to community groups, close paren, to address community concerns.
So none of that has any teeth in it though, right?
What is meaningful? That could be
We're just.
anything.
Right, so one of the things.
So I mean, again, like,
Wait, right?
I mean, that's, yeah, that's what.
That's all we can do.
We
That's it.
sought counsel from Jesse about how, what formula should be used to calculate
Meaningful.
a contribution. And he also did some outreach to try and figure out what might already be available publicly as suggested formulas for such contribution, and he was not able to find any. And so he was saying that that we shouldn't just make up our own number or our own formula, and that we would need to do a little more work, which is why he suggested that we leave this language more general here. But if anybody would like to help do some research about finding such a formula, happy to.
I'm not volunteering to do this, so if you don't wanna do this, it's totally fine, but I would suggest reaching out to the HHS co-chairs. Joe's just worked on so many things where we've contributed asset contributions to the fund, including rezonings that came back in the day to this committee. I think it may be more guidance to Jesse's point than hard and fast, but I think
I
Joe
believe
might be able
Jesse
to advise.
did do that, but I will double check.
And I'll add, I also did speak to Joe since our last meeting about this, because I had the same thought, like Joe will know where the Affordable Housing Fund is. And technically, the West Chelsea Affordable Housing Fund is a direct correlation to the transfer of developments off the High Line. And so it's driven by High Line development right purchasing that goes into that fund. So whether or not they could even receive voluntary funds is uncertain. There's also MIH Affordable Housing Fund that can also have designated funds go into it that are restricted to a community district. But again, the vehicle to go in means it has to be an MIH site. So how that actually works isn't clearly defined. And so I think leaving it vague and saying a contribution to an affordable housing fund, and there are multiple affordable housing funds, allows the opportunity for a contribution to be made. If we restrict it to one type of fund, and then they could say it's not eligible for that kind of funding source, then that would reject it. So I think leaving it vague opens the door for more possibility of it actually happening.
Okay. That's helpful.
So our letter says that they don't meet XXX and we recommend that this not go through.
Right, there will be a denial.
Mhm.
And
However, but just so we know, they don't make recommendations and they won't tell them and they can't make them do any of what we're asking.
correct. And but this is what this board has done in the past, is that this board has sent in letters saying, we think you
BSA.
to the BSA saying we think you should deny.
Has it ever worked?
I don't know.
Yes,
I
I
Yeah.
know
yes.
Paul knows.
Paul, what
There was
do you know, Paul? Go ahead.
yes. In Hell's Kitchen, there was an application for an adult entertainment establishment, and it was a BSA
Yes.
variance on special permit, and there were 3 conditions that were not met and 2 that were. And we said, but if they were to approve despite our objections, we had a series of conditions such as the establishment could not be open 24 hours or open to work, like, we had listed a series of conditions on that. But then the applicant withdrew because I don't think they could have overcome the objections that we had from the variances not been met. So we did in fact write a letter that these conditions were not met. We did in fact include conditions that if the BSA granted, then the conditions would still be placed. And if we think about almost all of our BLT letters are deny unless these conditions are put in place, and those conditions are put in
Right.
place. So it is a common.
Well,
practice.
ELT I know, but I don't know if
PSA.
PSA does this and if they've
If-
never done it before.
I don't know if they, I would suspect the answer to that is yes, if we had done it that way ourselves a year ago. There had to be some precedent.
And then my second thing is, I don't know if us asking for money in exchange for a zoning variance is actually even legal.
So just so we're
It's
clear, we're not
really
asking
like
for
we're
an exchange, we're not saying
There's
like,
no exchange.
if you offer us money, then we'll give you
Yeah.
a thumbs up.
I
We're
don't,
giving them a thumbs down.
I don't know
but-
if I would even put that in there.
Yeah, well, we actually had a good conversation about it, last month, and you're right, I mean. None of this would be, if the BSA chooses to approve. And they even. Suggest some of our conditions, it doesn't mean that they would be.
What are the thoughts, reactions?
What do we know about the new chair? Mike? Do you know anything?
Any details on the new chair, Mike?
On the new BSA
Uh,
chair?
well,
Oh.
unfortunately, I was gonna do the research, but I haven't done it. But generally speaking, I think the mayor is going to choose somebody who's in favor of as much housing as possible, right? So,
An NYU professor
Yeah.
and law graduate, he already worked for the city, planning commission.
Thank you.
That's a question on the letter, and given that, like, I think we're kind of questioning forthrightness of the group that came in, like, yeah, do you think the lines 11 through 18 are like, I don't know if taking what they said is
Well, I think we're the right thing. I would suggest that this is gonna need to be rewritten.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that.
Right.
Good.
To at least
good
frame that,
catch.
while we heard this,
Good
we're
catch.
aware of this. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if more to do.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts, reactions to the letter? Katie, you got your work cut out for you.
I do.
Mm.
And
We
also
love that
just,
idea.
I can't remember if we shared this already, but so we've been told that the date of their BSA hearing has been moved to the very end of July, so it will be after our July board meeting. Yeah, so,
Which is the end of the month, right?
yeah, the 23rd.
27th?
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Please scroll down to the conditions.
Oh, yeah. Natalie, can you scroll down to the conditions? There we are. Thank you. And so number 5, Paul, you were saying we should take out the name of the housing fund. And that we will,
Well, are we setting a more stringent requirement for number 1? That we wanna see more than just a housing affordability memo, cause I think that's something that they pretty clearly provided. We wanna see,
What?
we want them to open the books, is that what you're saying, Ryan?
Yeah.
We want to
suggesting, like, you gave us a model where you didn't give us the model, you gave us like more summary. I want the other tabs.
Okay,
More clarification, more detail, more background,
Mhm.
okay. Anything else?
we got the second one, we got that final unit count, right?
No.
No,
They
to
didn't-
change
they didn't
the,
finalize. They changed it, so
That's
they
right.
changed the stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
They said yes to 3.
but I don't think they actually made it completely.
You're kidding. They'll
Clear
go for whoever's pay, willing to pay the highest.
I mean, I think given what we've been through today, that more clarification, evidence, or that, more communication on how they would commit to something would be beneficial.
Yeah, so on 5, we make a meaningful contribution to a MCB4 affordable housing fund.
Yeah, okay.
So
CB4, yeah, MCB4, affordable housing fund.
People should be in the neighborhood.
yeah,
Got it,
the funds.
okay.
So do we need to vote on the entirety of the letter now?
I think so. I mean,
It's
just
certainly
so that we're,
valuable to do it.
okay. So, yep. Don't think there's another question?
I mean, the attending 2 clue meetings. Do they need to do clue meetings? for
Again,
that?
we'll revise
Okay.
this, I think.
This
I
is
imagine
based-
the tone of this letter is going to change.
Yeah.
Clearly,
I'd love to
it's
have-
shifted.
Because this draft, the
Despite.
last time we voted, it was to
Okay.
approve it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what this draft is we're looking at.
But we should do a vote.
Yep. All right, all those in favor of writing a letter to BSA, copying the applicant, denying the application and saying, we believe that they have not satisfied 4 out of 5 criteria. And then we'll go through each of them. They include uniqueness, financial hardship, neighborhood character, and unnecessary, well, that they didn't create the hardship. And that, but if the BSA does choose to approve it, then these are the conditions we would like them to impose. Which were the listed ones in the last draft, plus asking them to unlock the spreadsheet and asking them to provide evidence that they have reached out to Avenues and its landlord, and making more general the name of the affordable housing fund.
Inga, go ahead.
So they didn't meet 4 out of the 5, and on the 5th one, we are undecided, is that correct?
We are not undecided. We have 7 yes, 1 no, 6 abstention.
I think it's fair to say that we could use that point to say, we actually need more clarification or guidance. to be
Exactly,
able to understand
that's
this
basically it.
more clearly. I find it hard to believe the BSA that'll be the
Right.
difference maker, but I understand what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Jess.
We need to take a vote on that letter, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we should do that, but I'll also just offer that I think maybe the letter is saying that they have not met sufficient, like, they have not met all the criteria, therefore they don't qualify,
Right.
and then
think it's
we can
that.
take out
Yeah.
one. I don't think we need to say they did or didn't meet each one, like, one for one, like, I don't know that we need to outline what our votes were on each one.
No,
I think
no.
it would
Yeah,
raise
yeah, exactly.
our concerns, but because they
Yeah.
didn't meet any, because they didn't meet one, they don't meet the criteria.
Exactly.
So I think we
Yeah.
can keep
Whether-
whether at
right.
that high
Yes.
level.
Yes.
Viren, I see your hand up, go ahead.
Yeah, just very quickly, I mean, on one hand, we're saying it should be denied, and then on the other hand, we're saying if it's approved, I think there's a contradiction in terms. I mean, we are asking for both in one letter, which is sort of not exactly a very clear position that we're taking. We should take a clear position and state very clearly that it should be denied. We should not throw in sort of an option that if you choose to ignore what we're asking for you for, then you can do X, Y, and Z. I don't think it makes any sense.
So that was actually the vote we took earlier in the meeting, Vera, and we said, are people comfortable with the idea of including conditions? After we've said, we're voting to deny, but if the BSA chooses to do this, so that is a conversation we had earlier, but if you.
I
want
know,
us
but
to-
it's just problematic with I'm unfortunately not personally in the room. So I kind of don't hear you as clearly as you would expect me to. And when I could hear you very clearly right now, I'm raising a concern. It doesn't make any sense to have two contradictory positions in the same letter.
So what's the suggestion?
do you have a suggestion here?
Suggestion is that if we want this application to be denied, then we just stay with that, because that's what majority of our conversation has been about. Our conversation has not been about if we approve, what do we want them to change? That's not been the conversation of the entire evening. That's one point raised in between, of course, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, I think the entire evening was focused on where it doesn't meet the criteria for approval, and I think that's what our ask should be.
I
I'm
understand what you're
happy to
saying.
make a motion that if we should, let's just stick to
Yeah,
one
let's-
position
You made a
and
motion.
go for it, not put two different things in it.
So, I know, it's a little confusing, so we had a motion of about whether or not we were approving a letter which included.
Well, we could
the whole
vote, we
thing.
should vote on, but maybe you could choose whether or not that's an amendment you want to make, vote on one vote, fully phrase it to start on.
Yeah, so I think we should probably have that vote, but I was gonna respond with a different viewpoint to what Viren just shared, so should we do the vote first?
Up to you, but let me go change your vote.
All right, so, yeah, so I will say, Viren, I'm tempted not to change the motion, because I believe it is a lost opportunity to tell the BSA. I would like to say to them, hey, we think you should not approve, and here are the reasons why. But use the opportunity in front of them, and one of us will be showing up at the hearing to speak, to say, if for some reason they believe strongly that they do want to approve it, and they do approve it, then at a bare minimum, we think that they should apply the following conditions. So, I mean, what I hear you saying, Viren, is that we should just say, nope, you should deny, and then best, us. And not include any conditions, but I feel like it's a lost opportunity to say what is important to it.
It's your call, so you can make it.
So I guess I'm gonna say.
I don't disagree with you, and I appreciate what you're saying. My issue is, it's a very confusing letter. If I am a BSA chair and this letter comes to me, I'm going to wonder, what exactly are you asking for? You're telling me
I'm gonna jump in here and say one thing, and again, we have a motion. It's your choice as to whether or not to accept or not, but I just for point of clarification on this maybe is to say, let's remember we're an advisory body. So if that's the case then, and a letter says, we outright reject this particular thing, it may be true that someone doesn't accept what we say. In which case, we don't get to weigh in on what other options or thoughts we have. So again, I just want to understand that I understand the complexity, and I can understand that you might interpret this as confusion, but I think we also understand what is our ability for influence? Does influence solely come from saying no, or does it come from saying no, and we recognize that we are a no through and through. If you make this choice, we are asking for the following. That you're telling me that makes someone think, oh, they're actually like a yes? I don't think so.
No, Greg, let me just, let
let
me just quickly say, it's no unless these are met. That's the kind of language you might want to adopt.
Okay,
You understand?
I got you.
This doesn't mean
Okay.
anything. This means both and none. So
No, I don't agree with that, Fair.
my whole point is, no, unless these are considered, but that is a different type of letter. It actually weakens the argument in terms of what you really want. If the committee wants this to be denied, and if that's the position we discussed 5 times over, I think we should stay with it. And then not throw in another condition and say, you know what? No, unless you actually give us X, Y, and Z. I think that doesn't, it weakens the whole argument, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
Go ahead.
All right,
Good call, Kate.
so, I hear your point, but yes. The letter that I am about to motion says we vote no for the following reasons. And if you, do approve it, nevertheless, we would like you to consider and impose the following conditions, as we discussed at the last meeting, and then we added a few this evening. So, all those in favor of that letter, which has the no and the conditions, raise your hand.
No, Vera, Mike, yes. Vera does not have his hand up, Mike does.
All right, thank you.
Rephrase
That's 10
Thank you, Vera.
in favor. All those opposed, raise your hand.
Vera has his hand up as well.
Okay, thank you. And any abstentions? No, that's everybody. Were there any abstentions? Okay. Okay, so the letter passes as suggested. Okay.
Thank you for writing the letter, Katie.
I
Appreciate
just
that.
want to reiterate that
Uh-huh.
the 4 conditions were not met,
Uh-huh.
and the 5th condition was
Yeah, we got
uncertain
it.
because it was 7 to 7.
No. We already, just be clear, we've already clarified this.
Okay.
We've already clarified this. Go
Go
ahead.
And I guess, well, we already had we asked the public speaker, is there any old or new business?
Marty, go ahead.
We have in this community board argued, I think, a great deal for affordable housing. And my experience over the years in the community board is I have learned about income bands and all of that crap. Well, we have in our district Penn South, which is a different form of affordable housing. And I think there's one uptown in the Hell's Kitchen area as well. It is a limited equity form. It hasn't been funded by the government for the new ones haven't been funded by the government for a long time. Yet the board hasn't moved in any direction to support that kind of housing or to argue for that kind of housing as affordable housing. I want to bring to you tonight a document that explains limited community land trusts. It is a really nice piece of work. That's just to make it dramatic. And so I share this with you. It explains what community land trusts are. If I have more, it should go on the table if it doesn't. And I think I need to educate. I need to educate myself more about community land trusts, and I am aware that the folks who are pushing community land trusts have put together a slideshow. And I suggest that we invite those people to do a presentation about community land trust that's much more sophisticated than anything I could do in this short statement.
Thank you, Marty. We talked about that before.
I don't know what the housing experts, greater experts than I find myself to be, know about community land trust. And I would love to also hear what other members of the board who know something about this stuff think about.
I know that it's a conversation happening in Cape Cod right now, in Barnstable County. Community land trusts, and it's I will dig up whatever I can about that.
I also know that Bernie Sanders was one of the in Vermont, they had one of the first community land trust in the nation. There are a whole lot in the city, as this tells you. I just want to start that conversation.
Thank you, Marty. Any other new or old business?
Should we invite slideshow?
I think so, yeah, we've talked about this before, yeah, absolutely.
Should we, I mean,
Let's do it separately, let's
well,
plan it out.
we'll work on the schedule.
Yeah, we just have to do the schedule, yeah, we can do that. Any other items for old or new business? Anyone want to make a motion to end our meeting as we have covered all these items?
I make a motion that Brian bring this chocolate in.
How much means the West Village place?
We're all going.
I think it's about $90 a pound.
Thank you very much for the substantive conversation. Thank you very much. Nellie, how do we close out of here? What do you need us to do?
All you need to do is just, turn everything off.
I kind of got carried away.
And if you could just turn the screen off when you're done and make sure the door is locked.
You reach around and push the off button.
Thank you.
You can 11